Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Welcome to your 280th episode of The Pint and the very last episode of Forgotten February for 2023. My name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
Hey, I'm Andrew.
I'm Shane.
And we are here to talk about Cocaine Bear. No, we're not.
No. Hey, that's us for this week. Don't jump on our stuff, John.
Exactly. If you
we'll jump all over that.
If you want to hear a show that talks about the most recent activity in movies and TV and all that good stuff, then you've got to listen to our guests from Forgotten Entertainment, these two guys on recent activity. Here on The Pint, we're going 25 years back, and we're talking about 1998, all right? Yeah. So, again, Cocaine Bear, The Last of Us, all of that good stuff. Go see these guys, and we'll talk about their show towards the end of the show. Andrew's been on the show a bunch of times, former host of the Nomcast. Shane, ex-Media Mosh, they've come together to form a new podcast with our buddy Chris Frodell, Recent Activity. Andrew had been on quite a few times where we had done these episodes in the past, top 5 of a year. We did 99, I think 2000. We did a few of them. We haven't done one in a while. And I said, hey, look, it's Forgotten February. Let's get these guys on. And let's do 25 years back. Let's go to 1998. I think we all were kind of like, old enough to have had a good movie-going experience by that time. Crazy to think, but 98, stuff is like classic now. Stuff is, it's aged. It's like
shut up, John.
Shut up. Classic already.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about each of our 5 favorite films from this year. Again, not necessarily 5 best films, but our 5 favorite films. So when you hear me say my number 5, don't go, what the fuck are you talking about? Because yes, I know there are better films out there, but maybe not more enjoyable to me. So, Lloyd, I'm going to give you the privilege and the pride and all of that of picking the order that we're going to do this in. So, Manster, who do you want to go first?
The order?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go Manster, Shane, John, and then Andrew.
All right.
All right. Let's do it.
All right. So, Manster, obviously you're leading off. What is your fifth?
I will start off. My 5th, I had to get this in there. I don't typically count this genre movie among my favorites, although I love them. There's Something About Mary.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I just took someone's number 1. I'm pretty sure.
Shane had quite the reaction.
Shane had what I can only describe as an allergic reaction.
Oh, man. It came out in July of that year. Romantic comedy. Directed by the Peter and Bobby Farrelly. Fucking great, fun, romantic comedy, man. I'm not a huge rom-com guy, but this thing really hits all the buttons. It's so good. It grossed like $369 million on a $23 million budget.
Yeah, accent on gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, gross. Filled
Franks
with those
and beans.
memorable scenes. The zipper, the Franks and beans, the hair gel scene, the freaking dog, and
the
Matt
landlady,
Dillon's
whatever.
teeth.
What's her name?
I forget her name.
Oh God.
But
Magda, something like that.
Yes, Magda,
something like that.
with the tube tits. Yes.
Yeah. Just
Chris
ultra tan, just wrinkly. Ugh.
Yeah, the disgusting high rash on Chris Elliott's face and fucking eyeball.
Can you sign my pump is still just one of the funniest lines ever in the 90s.
7 Little Chipmunks. That's one of my favorite scenes. Spinning on a branch, eating some flowers on your grandmother's ranch. You know that old children's tale from the sea.
Just filled with unrelenting, shameless, juvenile humor. And it's got a heart, at the heart, it's just It's a love story, and it's a good one. So,
Yeah, I love that you called it a romantic comedy.
Me
Because
too.
honestly, I wouldn't have even said those words, but it really is.
it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a romantic gross out comedy.
Yes, which
Yeah.
is a rare commodity, but only the Farrelly brothers can pull that off.
Yeah. All right. That's my number 5. I'm glad I'm not sitting right next to Shane. Let's put it that way.
God damn it. You stole all my thunder. I wish you would have picked me to go first, you son of a bitch.
Damn. Well, maybe you'll get
Because-
me on the next one.
No, because I thought the same thing. I wanted to put one comedy in 1998. So for me, it came down to The Wedding Singer. It came down to Half
Right.
Baked. But in the end, I picked Something About Mary. That was my number 5 film. For everything you said, I love that film. I love Matt Dillon in that film. I always think about the line he shoots Cameron Diaz about working with retards and has the
Mongo.
The line that he runs
Forehead
back and
like a
forth.
drive-in movie theater.
Yeah, right. Marky Post,
And
Keith David.
and he wins her over before the end of that conversation.
Yeah,
Even though he
but-
said that.
Brett Favre. I mean, it's it's great. It's a great film. It still holds today, and in the end, that's just a better comedy I'd go rewatch over Half Baked and the other one I mentioned. So you stole all my thunder, Manster. I'm so fucking pissed, but I'm glad we're eye to eye on that one because that was that was the one comedy that was in my top 5.
It's better that it was your number 5, though. That you weren't like, oh man, I had this whole speech prepared, and I made a trophy for my number 1, and
I love the Fairley brothers. So
of course,
yeah. That's my number 5.
Good choice, man. Good choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, John.
Me. All right. Well, I'm not stealing anybody's thunder. I do love There's Something About Mary, but it didn't make my list. But one of the other comedies that Shane just mentioned made my number 5. Abba Zaba, You're My Only Friend. Half Baked.
All right.
I just rewatched it I used to watch this all the time. And I'm not a stoner. I'm not always the guy that likes stoner comedy either. I kind of think sometimes it's limiting, but this movie is fucking hilarious. You get, obviously it kind of introduced the world to Dave Chappelle. I know he was in the Robin Hood movie, but this is like his breakout. Jim Brewer, who was in Saturday Night Live at that time. Harlan Williams, who is also in Something About Mary with the Grandmother's Ranch and all that. Just a bunch of funny guys, a lot of great kind of like B or A level cameos in this thing for the time, and it's just a really fucking funny movie. It's a really funny movie. That's a full on titty. There's so much, the guy on the couch, so many jokes and bits that just hit home. And like I said, about a year ago, I threw it back in again, and I hadn't seen it in a few years, and I thought, this might not, maybe it doesn't work for me anymore at my age, and it worked 100%. And and one more thing, Shane, you jumped right in, but Rachel True, like, come on. Like,
yeah. Oh, sure.
It's a great film. Like I said, I had a tough time. I always think of the lines like, I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
Yes.
Or like the Bob Saget cameo was like, do you ever suck dick for like weed?
Yeah.
It's a great film. It's a great film.
And John, I'm sure because you also know my brother, a lot of you guys do. And we were at the gym the other day and he was telling me this, hard story about how much pain he's had. And he said he might have a bulging disc in his back. And I was like, doctor said you need a backiotomy? So I totally pulled out a half-baked thing right to him. I did this like 2 days ago. So it still sticks with me. And yeah, I'm into that movie. I just hate that you guys are qualifying like I just had to get one comedy. This is an excellent comedy year, guys. This is stacked. And you don't need to just go for, I'll just put in my 5 and get, the good stuff later. It's like, no, comedy ruled in 98. And it totally did in 99 when we talked about it too.
Yeah, true. All right, Andrew, you're up.
All right. I, too, am going in the comedy category for this one. I'm going with The Wedding Singer for my number 5. Even though I will say, just to credit, Shane and Manster, like, There's Something About Mary was an incredible experience seeing that in the theater with a lot of people and everything else and just the gross out. I miss that. I miss the community of seeing those type of movies in the theater. But Wedding Singer, I watched the crap out of this one over and over again. This is obviously when Sandler was still king. I like him more in non-comedies now, which is a sad state of affairs. But I loved him in this period. Kicks off the whole, Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore thing as they did multiple movies with each other. Excellent cameos by John Lovitz, Carmen Filippi as the old man in the bar, and of course, Billy Idol at the end on the airplane. Just this movie has so many quotes. The same thing, much like There's Something About Mary's and all the other classic comedies that you guys brought up. But yeah, this is still like height of Sandler to me. Probably right at the end, because even though it's written by Tim Herlihy, who like did Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and all the ones that I truly like, but this is probably like at the end of his height. Like some people will say maybe Big Daddy or whatever, but yeah, this is right in there in that wheelhouse of his best stuff.
Yeah, that was great.
Agreed.
Really good music. I think they came out with 2 soundtracks. I bought both of them.
I have both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a favorite of my wife's, and I enjoy it as well. I think it's right when Sandler hit his like stride, like you said, Andrew. Like Happy Gilmore was big, but then this one proved he could do something different, less of a like kind of crazy out there comedy and more of a rom-com again, as we mentioned. But you get so many classic lines, and Steve Buscemi at the end with greatest guitar player in the world, Dad. Just so many awesome moments in that.
You know how badly I wanted to like start the intro with, I have a microphone and you will listen to every damn word I have to say. I just wanted to like bring that out, but now I probably just lost my voice for the rest of the cast. So that'll do it. But yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's my number 5.
Andrew bravely battling strep as we're recording. So by the time we get to number 3, if you notice, it's just me, Shane, and Lloyd talking. We'll read off Andrew's in our best imitation of his voice.
Yeah.
All right, Manster, what is your number 4?
My number 4 came out in June that year. It's a crime. I think if I'm not mistaken, this might be the first one that sort of set this guy in this path. I'm talking about Out of Sight.
I just rewatched it today. Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah. I rewatched it earlier in the week. I had forgotten how much I liked it. It's Elmore Leonard. So it's a crime comedy directed by Steven Soderbergh, written by Scott Frank, but adapted from Elmore Leonard's 1996 novel. And, if you're doing Elmore Leonard, you're going to get, good characters and absurd situations and a fun story and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Which this really delivers. Clooney and Lopez. Yeah, they worked really well together.
It's the only movie I like her in, and I'm not saying that as
I feel the same way.
Only movie I like with her in it. That's it.
It's the only movie I like Clooney in. It's the only movie I like him in. Was this movie? I'm sorry, I'm not a George Clooney fan. Out of Facts of Life, this is
Michael Clayton is one of my favorite movies of all time. And Ocean's 11. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Overrated, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh my god,
Shane,
shut it down.
Yeah, I'm not going to mute you, but you are in the corner for the next minute.
I'm sorry.
You're like the last scene of Blair Witch right now.
I don't like.
Oh, brother, where art thou? Come on.
No,
man.
I don't like George Clooney, man. I'm sorry. He doesn't do it
after
for me.
reading, he made a dildo machine for you, Shane.
Yeah, right.
No, I don't like him.
You know what it is? Shane thinks that Clooney might be a little better looking than him. And
That's it.
Outside of Dusk Till Dawn, this is the only other movie I like him in.
That's it. Well, at least you like him in this.
Yeah.
Great cast. You got Lopez, Ving Rhames, Don Cheadle, Steve Zahn, Albert Brooks, who I had to be reminded was Albert Brooks the first time I saw him. Like, damn.
Yeah. When he's in the prison, he's kind of unrecognizable.
Oh, yeah, totally. And then you hear the voice.
Gets there. Yeah.
And of course, Michael Keaton reprising his Ray Nicolette role from Jackie Brown.
That's right. Go to ForgottenEntertainment.com and check out On the QT. Featuring both of these guys as well. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Yep. And that one more scene that towards the end with that clumsy bodyguard, the big heavy dude, and he runs up the stairs.
Yeah, just shoots himself
Who hasn't
in the face?
run up the stairs and tripped, right?
Yeah.
But luckily, we don't always have a gun in our hands.
And also try stealing steaks when you're on a diamond heist. You know, that's always
steaks. Very
all
good.
Right.
Yeah, that's
great movie.
4,
that's great early Soderbergh. I feel like Out of Sight walked so Ocean's 11 could run. Because it's got that same vibe and spots and everything else. It's not as shut up, Shane. It's not as fast and flowy and cheeky as Ocean's 11 is, but it definitely does a lot of that. And Don Cheadle to me steals the show.
It's great.
In so many scenes, much like he did in Ocean's 11 as the demolition expert.
I like Steve Zahn in that movie too. I like him in Out of Sight too. He's great.
Sunglasses.
Yeah, he's always good.
Yep.
All right, number 4, Shane. You're out of the quiet corner. You can talk again.
All right, this is where I go off script. And this is where John, I always remember the quote you said, it's not a guilty pleasure unless you like it. Right. So there's
no such thing. There's no
right.
such thing.
Exactly right.
No such thing.
So
you like it.
At the top of the podcast, you said there are better movies, but this is one of my favorites. It's The Faculty by Richard Rodriguez. It's an alien invasion. Yeah, I'm sorry, Robert Rodriguez. Alien invasion movie, bunch of high schoolers. Just an awesome, fun, over-the-top movie. An awesome cast. You have Jordana Brewster, Josh Hartnett, Salma Hayek, Famke Jensen, Shooter McGavin, the T-1000, Usher, Jon Stewart, Elijah Wood. It is just an awesome, fun, over-the-top movie. It's a horror movie, I guess, but it's a fun horror movie, and I just love everything about this movie. It's totally rewatchable. I can't say enough about this movie.
I haven't seen it in a long time. I saw it in the theaters. I remember seeing it in the theaters. I remember Josh Hartnett's haircut because it always bothered me for years. That kid's hair always bothered me. But yeah, it's a cool kind of like Body Snatchers vibe. Yeah, and Robert Rodriguez at that time was just off of From Dusk Till Dawn. Mm-hmm. And this was kind of like, maybe if I'm incorrect, I think this was more like work for hire. I don't think this was something that he maybe wrote. I could be wrong on that.
Is this a Kevin Williamson written one?
It might be, because that could be for one of two reasons. Because A, I think he wrote everything around that time.
Yes.
Or B, it just doesn't feel like Rodriguez necessarily.
It is a Kevin Williamson script.
I thought so. Okay. Yeah. Which he has a distinct style, and he's making a comeback. Shane, you watched that Sick movie on Peacock, right? That he just wrote.
Yeah, and I liked it.
Yeah, he's still kicking around.
Yeah, still doing it to it. All right,
and making money off the Scream revival.
Might as well. Hey, you know what? If I did something 30 years ago and someone wanted to keep pushing it out there and I just made money for it, I have no problem with that.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I have no problem with that. All right. So who are we up to now? Me?
You.
Me. Yeah. All right. Number 4, mine came out on July 15th of that year. It is it's like one of like the last, this is 25 years ago. It's like one of the last bastions of a genre we don't get much anymore. The great action adventure, more of an adventure film. It's The Mask of Zorro.
I knew that was coming.
I love that movie, man. I lent it to Manster a couple years ago because I loved it so much, and he was like, "It's not that great." Well, he's wrong. I'm right. The sequel's not that great. I'll give you that. The Legend of Zorro a few years later. It was like one of those sequels that they did too long after the first one. Like they should have hit when the iron, was hot. But Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Anthony Hopkins, and essentially retelling the origin of an updated version of Zorro, who is in the long run, kind of like one of our building blocks of superheroics. Batman went to see Zorro with his parents when shit went down, in Crime Alley. This is a fun fucking movie. This is a totally fun movie. There's a scene in this movie I've never understood, and I'm going to throw it out there real quick. So Zorro obviously is masked, and nobody knows his real identity. His older brother gets murdered early in the movie, and that's one of his impetuses for becoming Zorro. The bad guy, the villain in the film, keeps his older brother's head in a jar filled with water. Okay?
Yeah.
Filled with water. And there's a scene where he suspects that Banderas' character is Zorro, so he pulls it out to kind of shock him. And he looks at it, and then he drinks out of the head water. and I always thought, what are you proving by doing that other than that you're going to die of dysentery?
Yes.
It's a very odd scene, and it always sticks with me. But no, I love The Mask of Zorro. I think it's a great film. I wish they had done like maybe a couple for a while, every couple years, like a Bond thing, but they didn't. They came out with a sequel like almost 8 years later.
Right.
It's okay, but it floundered. Yes, after this, we got Pirates of the Caribbean, and you could count stuff like The Lone Ranger in that genre. But like other than Pirates of the Caribbean, which slowly started to fail off by the end, these things just don't work anymore. And it's too bad.
I got a bunch of movies. A lot of the movies I could not find streaming for free anywhere. So I went to the local library and I found a bunch of movies there. And I did pick up Mask of Zorro this week. I did not get to watch it though. So
quality endorsement.
Some other choices, but I still have it for a couple more days. So
all right,
I'm gonna give it another shot. I'm gonna.
And if you don't have Mask of Zorro, you don't get Puss in Boots. And, everybody seems to be going crazy over that right now for some reason.
Yeah, crazy. A Shrek spinoff sequel is garnering all these great reviews, like to the point where I'd never seen Puss in Boots. I never even saw the Puss in Boots that the Shrek movie he was in, and I want to see the new one because I keep hearing about how good it is.
It's overrated.
It's actually pretty decent, man. I had a good time with it. I really did.
Yeah, Shane and I are fighting over this.
I know it's better than like the last two Shrek sequels. It was a fun time at the movie. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. I would watch it again. Yeah, huh.
I don't count any Shrek movie past 2. It's just like no thanks, no need.
I never saw anything past 2, so I can't comment. All right, Andrew, what's your number 4?
My number 4, I am keeping up with the comedy, and I am going with, again, what was a complete bomb of 1998, but I absolutely love it, and I will not apologize for it. Basketball is my pick. This is co-written and directed by David Zucker, the Zucker brothers. So, Naked Gun, Airplane, Kentucky Fried Movie, some of my favorite movies of all time. Toss Basketball on that list of like some of my favorite comedies. This is a weird, like it's, it never gets brought up with like, sports movies or sports comedies. Often it's always like Major League or something else. But like basketball to me is so relentlessly funny. And it's also so relentlessly 1998, considering it has Real Big Fish as a ska band playing in the league. But the height of the Trey Parker, Matt Stone thing the following year obviously gets you the South Park movie. South Park is on TV. So this all kind of comes together. Insanely quotable movie. All the squeak stuff is hilarious. Some of my, you get some of the best like character actor stuff on top of like cameos and whatever. You get Ernest Borgnine and Robert Vaughn being like major characters in here alongside two of the quote sex pots of the era with Jenny McCarthy and Yasmin Bleeth. And one of my all-time favorite cameos with Robert Stack basically doing an unsolved mystery on Coop, Trey Parker's character. It's just, and saying that he hung himself and all this. It's so good. And I've actually played basketball with friends in a driveway, like basketball scenario, because it is actually quite a good game. So, because I love baseball, I love, the rules of baseball integrated into basketball. And I was still, I still play basketball to this day, trying to, I shoot hoops a lot with my daughter and everything. So maybe I'll pass that lineage along and play basketball as well.
Yeah, I love the movie when it came out. And honestly, I have not seen it in so long, but I know I would still laugh at it if I saw it.
Oh, 100%. Oh my God.
It was a weird flex at the time, hiring those two guys to play characters in a movie that they didn't create, or you know what I mean? Because they were known at that time for a year or two of South Park. So all of a sudden they come in and they just play these two guys. And you're right. Squeak, what's his name?
It's Dan Batcher.
Dan Batcher, who was Chota Boy in Orgasmo.
Yes.
Their first, or one of their first movies.
Not going to do Hamster Style anymore, John.
Dad, I don't think I'm going to do Hamster Style anymore. Okay, son.
I can still smell that newspaper.
Yeah. All right, basketball. Manster, we're back to you for your number 3. Trace, as they say.
My number 3. Well, now it starts getting a little serious. So my number 3,
Spice World.
Is Babe a Pig in the City? No. My number 3 is also came out in June of that year, The Truman Show.
Nice.
Jim Carrey, I believe, probably his first like serious role, right?
Yeah, it's right around that time. I don't know if it's what came first, that or The Majestic. The Majestic was him going full on, I felt, and then it kind of went from there.
The Majestic was a few years later, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, great, like a satirical, I guess, psychological comedy, drama, social fiction. It was all kinds of stuff, that show. It was popular around the time when like reality shows were really big. He plays this guy growing up in ordinary life, but unbeknownst to him, he's the star of a reality show. And it's got a lot of good characters like Laura Linney. Ed Harris is really great in this.
Yeah.
Noah Emmerich, the best friend, he's in on it, but he's really torn. You could feel that in his character. It was a success. Another movie. I think all three of my movies so far have earned like award nominations and wins and stuff like that. But yeah, this had a lot of cool themes in it. Very existential, with him realizing and seeing like the product placement that his wife in the show, Laura Linney, she would all of a sudden turn to him and do like a commercial to him, which was really odd.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, really good movie. I really like this. I've seen it a few times. One of the few movies that I've rewatched. Yeah, I like this one.
I only saw that once. I saw it in the theaters. I liked it.
Yeah.
But it didn't stick with me. And even as I've gotten 25 years older, and I still see things, of course, that, good morning, good afternoon, whatever.
Yeah.
Good
I
evening.
see you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I always think about that movie, and I always think maybe it'll hit differently at, now that I'm in my, late 40s.
Maybe.
But I've never thrown it in, but this gives me impetus to do so.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone has this on their list, so I apologize, but I feel like it's the perfect double feature with Pleasantville, which is also this year. And I like them both equally. They're both really good movies, but it's like Pleasantville, you have, someone entering in a TV show and having it slowly change over time and changing the values and people slowly realizing that they're kind of stuck in this scenario and that they don't have to be and all that. And Truman is obviously the same thing, but on a different, tilt of how they're doing it, where they're controlling him, manipulating and doing it as a show outside of that. So to me, I feel like that's a very good double feature, and weird that they came out in the same year.
Well, I don't know what year this came out, but I remember Ed TV. Remember Ed TV came out?
Yeah.
And it was like the same thing. It was like, I think it was Woody Harrelson, and I forgot who the other guy was.
McConaughey.
McConaughey.
Yeah.
And their lives were being filmed. So I always associate Truman Show with Ed TV, but Truman Show was the far superior movie than Ed TV.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Ed TV was, if I remember, I saw that in the theaters too, and never again. That was, he won a contest, or it was like a contest, right? Where if he would do this for a year, film everything, which again, as you kind of mentioned, Lloyd, it was kind of prescient because people do that all the time now.
Yeah.
Ed TV could never be a movie now, because just turn on Tubi or turn on NBC or Peak, and you're going to see a show about two strangers getting married. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy.
I'm just going to throw this out there, and I don't want to get into a conversation about it really, but I'm going to throw this one out there for everybody. Does everybody agree with me? 98, 99, the beginning of reality TV. Okay. Did any of you ever think 25 years later we'd still be fucking dealing with this shit?
God.
No,
I was hooked on it for a while, I have to tell you, but I haven't watched Survivor and Big Brother in years now.
I thought Real World did it right, and then everybody started really messing it up. But
they were like the first among the pioneers of all that.
They were earlier. Totally. They were like in the early 90s, and that was it. That was pretty much it. And then around 99, I think Survivor is what fucking did it.
Yep.
And then it just became everything. But like, go back to, and I understand it's cheaper to produce that content. You have no stars, all this stuff. But like, we're in 2023, and it's still like The Bachelor is on season 72. And you know what I mean?
Shoot me in the face.
It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, Shane, what is your number 3?
All right, my number 3 is probably a lesser known film, and that is Clay Pigeons.
Oh,
yeah. Vince Vaughn, Janine Garofalo.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And Joaquin Phoenix. Yep. It's a dark comedy. Joaquin Phoenix's best friend is sleeping with his wife. He kills himself. In comes Vince Vaughn as a serial killer. So he's just coming off like a swingers fame and all of his Vince Vaughn shtick. And it was just a different character for him at the time. And I thought he played a serial killer just to a T. And I just love the interaction between him and Joaquin Phoenix. And he was going to kill Joaquin Phoenix's wife. And it's just a whole murder mystery thing, a dark comedy. I think this is one of the hidden gems of 98 that doesn't get talked about enough, but it's rewatchable. It's a great performance by Vaughn and Joaquin Phoenix. And I just absolutely love Clay Pigeons.
It's funny you say the serial killer thing, Shane, because Vince Vaughn plays Norman Bates this year as well, and it doesn't work.
Doesn't work at all.
But this works for him. This movie worked for him. His over the top, funny, satirical kind of attitude, and how he plays with Janine Garofalo and Joaquin Phoenix. It's just a great dynamic between those three characters in this movie.
I remember watching this movie and I think, was it a really violent scene with Vince Vaughn? And I remember I really liked Vince Vaughn at the time, and I really just couldn't stand it.
Oh,
I couldn't stand his character. I liked the movie, but I've never watched it again because it made me hate his character so much that I didn't want to see it anymore.
Oh, it was so different for him, but he had the same kind of attitude as Swingers, but just in a serial killer kind of vibe.
Exactly. Yeah. And for some reason, that turned me off.
Oh,
I've always been curious about it, but I've never seen it.
Oh, you need to watch it, John.
Yeah,
I'm going to check it out. I think I'm going to go back and check any of these out that have been mentioned that I haven't seen in a while or seen at all. All right, so Clay Pigeons, the second serial killer film of
the superior one,
1998. All right, my number 3. I'm going to give you a line, and it's quite simple. It's some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. It is Blade. I love Blade. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw Blade. I remember the day I saw Blade. It was a Sunday. Saturday night, we had a party at the house I was living at the time. And Sunday, all of us that were left over were hungover and felt like shit. And we spent all day just lounging in the pool we had at the house. It was my buddy's house. And then around 2 in the afternoon or so, we were like, let's just go to a movie or something. We lived in Hamden, went to the North Haven Theater, and Blade. I don't know, Wesley Snipes, right? At the time, you know, he was kind of a big deal, right? He had Passenger 57 a few years before that. You know, he had some stuff. So we went in and we saw this movie. And I'll be honest, as a Marvel Comics reader as a kid, I didn't know who Blade was. I didn't know who Blade was because I wasn't reading 70s comics. And this wasn't it. This was a gritty, updated, version.
Rated R Blade.
Rated R with a techno soundtrack. And it opens up with Tracy Lords in a scene.
Yeah.
Steven Dorff is the ultimate, Euro douche, even though he's not Euro, bad guy. And, obviously spawned a 3-movie franchise. The less we talk about the third, the better, but the second's really good. And I love this movie. Great cast, obviously Wesley Snipes, Steven Dorff is great in it. Udo Kier, and Donald Logue, who plays the ultimate piece of shit side bad guy. Yeah. And we did this on the show, Pint of Comics days, pre-Lloyd. We did this as a Pint Movie Invitational. Me, John, and I think our buddy Rich. And so that was 4 years ago, the last time I saw it. And it holds up, man. It fucking holds up. Some of the effects are a little bit 1998, but the whole movie is a little bit 1998.
The dissolving. Yeah. I watched it last night.
Yeah. Some of it isn't great, but it does a lot right. One of the things I love about this, we probably mentioned that on the episode, is that there is a female protagonist in this movie that they don't make Blade fuck or have a romantic relationship with. She's just she's a victim, but she's just there to kind of help him get to the bad guys in the end. So I don't know. I've always dug that movie, Blade, from what was it? August 18th of 1998.
Yeah, it feels like in August. It's so weird to see it's now going to be an MCU movie,
right?
But it's weird to see something. August used to be we don't know what to do with this movie, but it's action, so we'll dump it in August. And it turns out to be this, a bit of a template for other comic book movies to do more as it comes, because it was the first successful one where they're okay, we're going to do X-Men 2 years later. Right. We're going to have just this string of stuff. We're going to bring the Spider-Man stuff back, and all this stuff happened because Blade worked. So it's a huge movie. I'm interested in the Mahershala Ali version that the MCU is going to do. But whenever I think of MCU and how the R-rated stuff worked beforehand, how they're going to do Deadpool and all this other stuff, I always get weird of, is this actually going to work or not?
Yeah. I'm glad that we have the 98 Blade. Because if the new one doesn't work, we have the 98 Blade. And
for sure.
Have that.
And it still holds up. The first two hold up. And the second one's directed by Guillermo del Toro, I believe.
Yep.
So the first two hold up and they're classics. So I agree with you on that one. Blade was awesome.
I'll stand here on the island that I hate part 2 with a massive, a grudge.
Hi on your island.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. I'm saying I'm arm in arm with George Clooney. You can stand over with Guillermo del Toro. Yeah.
Go sit in the corner for a while and be quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You too. Well, he has to
but
go.
It's my
now.
turn.
It's his turn. So After Andrew's turn, he's in the quiet corner. Andrew,
God, I wish I had a Clooney movie.
What is your number 3, Andrew?
My number 3, and these next 3, I don't know if it's again because I was 16 years old in the height of me watching movies all the time and soon to be starting to work in a movie theater era and all that. But these next 3 movies are almost some of my favorite movies of all time. So I'll start with number 3. Infinitely rewatchable. I love a good card playing movie, and it's Rounders. Fucking love Rounders. Shane is mad now. Can you at least be happy with me if we're like commiserating now after we were on 2 different islands?
Yeah,
on
you're right. Yeah, we've come together now.
Yeah. This is directed by John Dahl, who previously did Red Rock West before that, and then went on to do Joyride afterwards, and started to do TV a lot in the last 15, 20 years. Mostly because this movie is written by Koppelman and Levine, the creators of Billions, and they've done a lot of TV up before Billions, and John Dahl has directed episodes of their stuff along the way. So they've all kind of kept going together, as it were. But this movie, it's just so great. This is the Matt Damon Renaissance era. You know, I told people, probably again because of my age when I saw it and everything, for a longest time I told people my favorite movie was Good Will Hunting. I think I said that because it was like the first like semi-serious like Oscar-y movie that I loved, you know? And you know, it's probably it's not true. I was lying to myself. I was trying to sound like bigger than myself, but like it just basically told me that I will love Matt Damon for life. And this is, you know, a couple years later, and Rounders it's infinitely cool. Like you know, Teddy KGB, John Malkovich with the Oreos. Like there's just these subtle little like character actor stuff that is amazing in here. John Turturro as Kanish. Martin Landau is really good in this movie. Famke Jensen plays a small role in here when she was still at the height of her smoking hotness. And but to me, it's obviously the Matt Damon and Edward Norton show, right in the peak of their powers. Just such great dirt baggery from Ed Norton as Worm. Worm is such a perfect character name too. And, you know, 2 guys, you know, who, you know, just, you always have that friend that like went way far south from you. Like you grew up together. It could have gone either way and you did better for yourself. Maybe not you, John, but like, you know, most people, totally you know, they go way better. And then your friends, you know, maybe go to jail or get caught up in the wrong crowd and their life completely changes. That's what this story is. And on top of it, it's a cool card playing game with a lot of like famous, you know, poker players over time and everything else. So if you're into all that on top of excellent performances and a tightly written movie, this movie is for you. Rounders is awesome.
I need to rewatch that. I saw it years ago. I don't remember a thing about it.
Yeah, similar for me. I saw it years ago. A rewatch would be new to me, essentially. I'll never forget. And it's not just because of the movie, but like it's kind of a meme-ish thing, you know. Get that man his man.
Yes. Yeah. His accent is so bad that it's amazing.
Yeah,
and you'll never forget it. That's really what it is. And Malkovich is perfect for that.
All right, so that is the number 3s. Let's head back to the Manster for his numero deuce.
Are we into the 2s already? Wow.
2s.
I spent a while. I was juggling this one for a while because it spent some time at my number 1. Until I watched my number 1 movie again, and like, there's no way I could put anything above this. So, number 2, the rights to this movie were bought in 1993, and it kind of just was mired in development hell until 1998. Directed by Sam Raimi, written by Scott B. Smith. A Simple Plan.
Yeah.
Simple Plan. Neo-noir crime thriller. You know, Bill Paxton, Billy Bob Thornton, Bridget Fonda, she disappeared, and Brent Briscoe played the friend Lou. Such a great, you know, it's got the themes of, you know, it's like family, brotherhood, loyalty, and shit like that. And what's really important, and you know, the Billy Bob Thornton character of was it Jacob? Wow, he just makes mistakes every time he turns a corner, and Bill Paxton, Hank is always covering for him, and every turn that he makes, he just makes it worse or kills somebody. Oh, it's just this crazy ass story, and it just makes you feel what money, what can do to you. It can totally just make you evil. Just the thought of having all this money.
Well, like one of the, you think of the movie and you think the bad guy is either Gary Cole or it's, the Lou guy. It's fucking Bridget Fonda.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's kind of like the architect of everything that goes wrong.
So we've done this episode now. We've been going for 40 minutes and we have mentioned there have been 2 lost episodes of the Pint that went down with a laptop that went down that could not be recovered. And Lloyd was on his divorce hiatus at the time, so he wasn't on either one of them. But they were awesome episodes, and we mentioned them both. From Dusk Till Dawn, gone, and A Simple Plan, gone. But A Simple Plan, you're absolutely 100% right. It's not on my list. It might be on my list if this was more of a best of. But what a fucking just like it's one of those movies where things just keep getting worse and worse and worse.
Yep. Yeah. Great storytelling, great performances by everybody, cinematography and direction. And it, like I said, like all the other ones, it won nominations, it won awards. Billy Bob Thornton won for Best Supporting Actor. And Bill Paxton, although he is kind of like secondary to all of the Billy Bob Thornton accolades, his performance is really good. And I think it rivals his performance in Frailty.
Yeah, he's the
absolutely. Frailty's great. In this movie, if you first watch it and not look up who directed it and stuff, you would think it was a Coen Brothers film.
Well, I was going to say that, because they used to be so tight, and Sam Raimi learned a lot from the Coens. And this is the movie. Every now and then, Raimi will do a movie like this, and you go, "Oh, right, that was his roots. This is what he's all about when he's not doing, the schlocky horror or Spider-Man stuff."
He's admittedly not a horror guy. He's said it before.
Yeah.
He would prefer to do stuff like this, but when you come out of the gate with Evil Dead and then Evil Dead 2 and then Army of Darkness, you have kind of stamped yourself in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, him and Carpenter are just sitting there begrudgingly being the best at in their genre, which is so wild to think about. But Sam Raimi, he does this every now and then. You could tell he had that tight relationship. I think it was around Miller's Crossing is when they right after that is when they went their separate ways. But they used to have a huge roster. It was like Barry Sonnenfeld, Sam Raimi, and the Coen brothers all making movies together. For the Coens. It's amazing. That was such a great period.
All right, Shane, what do you got for your number 2? I have a feeling it might be A Simple Plan. The way you reacted.
It was, but I'm going to my alternate number 2 because I don't want to bounce off what Lloyd said, but Simple Plan was my number 2. But I'm going one of the mainstream movies of the year. It is a Coen Brothers film, and that is The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
One of the best characters of all time with the dude, and Jeff Bridges is always associated with that character. Sam Elliott. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman. You have a recognizable Tara Reid. You have Peter Stormare. It's just a fantastic, awesome, and I'll admit, this is one of the movies when I first watched it, I did not like it at all.
Me too.
It was like
100%.
It was the second viewing, and then the third viewing, I'm like, oh shit, this is a masterpiece of a film. Yeah. I love this movie from top to bottom. Jeff Bridges plays a slacker. All he cares about is bowling with his buddies, John Goodman, Steve Buscemi, John Turturro as the pedophile. I mean, it's a classic film, and I absolutely love this movie.
I'm in the same path as you, Shane. I didn't like it the first time. I liked it a little bit more the second time, and I'm actually still on the uphill slope at this point.
It's kind of a plotless movie. It's a movie about character. There's so many things that happen in like the scene where he goes to that party and he finds the notepad and he's trying to. It doesn't matter. None of it matters in the end. But what it is you're following this character through his life. That's it.
Yeah.
Writing a check for what, like $1.87 or something to buy milk.
And all he wants to do is replace his carpet that someone peed on or something like that. So that's all he wants. Like, it's the dude. We're following the dude along his journey. It is
Yeah. Woo peed on his rug.
Yeah.
Chinaman
There you
is
go.
not the preferred nomenclature.
Yes.
This I don't know how you want to do this, John, but this is my number one, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. John Goodman's best role of all time. When Shane held up his notebook weirdly to show us that he crossed out number 2 and did the whole thing, I was like, "Is this your homework, Larry?" It felt like that kind of moment anyway, and it's ironic that he was doing The Big Lebowski, but this is easily probably the most quotable movie ever. Unfortunately, I was tortured by it, even though I loved it for a while, because my brother and his friends would call me Donnie a bunch as like a third wheel younger brother thing when we go out. So I didn't love that. But this movie is so good that I've considered going to those like
the fest.
Lebowski Lebowski fests and whatever. I would absolutely do it, and I'd probably have a great time, because you could sit there and do the whole Chris Farley show thing and just be like, remember that scene when they I could do that all day with this movie, and it doesn't get old. Like Donnie's ashes blowing back in their face, the guy in the iron lung while they're grilling his son. Like, there's so many excellent scenes in here that just like, I think I liked Creedence Clearwater Revival, but I think I loved it after seeing this, and I definitely drank White Russians like a douchebag for many, many years because of this movie as well.
Do you hate the Eagles because of this movie?
Sadly, because it's actually around the same time that Hell Freezes Over, that like big unplugged event, like came out around the same time. I was like, oh, I love this movie, but can I still kind of like listening to the Eagles every now and then?
You got to listen to the Eagles like by yourself in your car. With, like,
yeah, exactly.
Low, very low.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't let Jeff Bridges hear. But oh man, there's like the flea part of this, like the whole Autobahn thing is fucking great. Oh yeah, and the freak out sessions with Maude, Julianne Moore, and yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman is just so creepy but lovable as Brant. Or it's just like, I'll suck your cock for $1,000. Brant can't watch, otherwise he's got to pay to. Like, it's so good, and he's just giggles that like horrible. Everything is so great about that movie.
Agree. I'm glad we're together now, Andrew.
Yeah.
You guys made up. So that was Shane's number 2. That was Andrew's number 1. All right. So we are going to me for my number 2.
Yeah.
Your number 2.
Andrew for number 2. Okay.
Yeah.
My number 2 came out on July 1st. And I saw this with my wife on a date early in our relationship at the drive-in movie theater. She cried at the end. Which might be the first time I had seen her ever cry at something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget it because right before the movie started, you're at a drive-in, a car pulls up next to ours. And we're just sitting talking, we're like a year into our relationship. We're just bullshitting. And the car pulls up next to us, tinted windows. The window goes down, motorized. And I see a dude sitting in the car. And then his probably 3-year-old or 4-year-old daughter leans over the window and barfs all over the in-between spot between my wife's side of the car and their side. Which would like, I guess, be a premonition for what a asteroid was going to do to Earth in Armageddon.
Armageddon. Nice.
I thought that's where you were going.
Nice tie in there.
Yeah. Look, let's be honest. It's a long movie, probably a little bit too long, but you throw this thing in and you get what you paid for. Okay. Yeah. You get a perfect confluence of Michael Bay at the beginning before it became goddamn ridiculous, right? This is where it was started, probably. You get a giant star in Bruce Willis, and then you get this awesome, like, character / newbie actors that are going to become something eventually through this thing. You get Liv Tyler, you get you obviously Ben Affleck right after Good Will Hunting. Then you get people like Owen Wilson, who at that time was just like Owen Wilson. He was in The Cable Guy. That was all I knew him from, other than like Bottle Rocket, but people didn't know. Yeah, exactly. Right. Wow. You get this is Michael Clark Duncan right here, right? One of my favorite scenes in this movie is when they're trying to get the guys together to do the job, and they ask them how to find Michael Clark Duncan, and he's driving across South Dakota on the Harley, and the helicopters are following him, and he's like just going, "Come and get Papa Bear!" come get Papa Bear. Right? Like that was a guy that we all fell in love with, like for that period of time. And what a fucking loss that he passed away years ago. But you know, you get so many. Peter Stormare, who Shane just mentioned a minute ago, who is a fucking
the busiest man in Hollywood.
And you know what? He's not American, but he's a national treasure. This guy.
Yes, he is.
And then, you know, again, you get guys like fucking, what's his name? Colonel Willie Sharp. I can't think of his name right now. The pilot who's in everything. William Fichtner. Awesome actors. A really cool idea, right? This is the serious side of the double asteroid films of 98. Deep Impact. I'm sorry, this is the goofy side. Deep Impact was the serious side. We've got these guys going to destroy asteroids in like Humvees in space. I'm sorry, but like you're looking for fun. And another crazy thing about Armageddon is there's a fucking Criterion version for it. Like Criterion doesn't do a lot of movies like Armageddon, but for some reason they did. I just love this movie. And at the end of the movie, spoiler for a 25-year-old movie, so don't at me, when Liv Tyler and Bruce Willis are talking, you know, and he's sacrificing himself, my wife was fucking crying.
I cried.
Like
I have to admit.
Crying like you wouldn't believe.
I also rented that movie this week as well.
There you go. I own it. Yeah. That's not a rent.
I do too. It holds up. Like you said,
it holds up.
Once you said your wife cried, I knew exactly what movie you were going for on this one, man. Yeah. And again, it has the cast is phenomenal. Don't forget Billy Bob Thornton and Will Patton. Just a great cast. Far superior than Deep Impact. That can go screw itself.
See, I don't dislike Deep Impact, but it's very much the like, oh, this is what probably would happen. And Armageddon is, this is what I would want to happen. And I'd want to like fucking play the video game of it. And, you know, I'd want all that. So, all right. So that was my number 2. We're going to Andrew for his number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Shane, you should have showed them your "Don't Want to Miss a Thing" tattoo that you have.
I can show you right now if you want. It's on the small on my back. I got it small on my back.
Oh, I know. I've used it as a target before. It's good stuff. That was sadly my prom theme was "Don't Want to Miss a Thing." Yeah, so maybe that made me sour on Armageddon more than it should. By the way, John, I love that you brought up the Armageddon Deep Impact 2. It's my favorite square off besides the Dante's Peak and Volcano thing, which was right around the same time. Hollywood keeps making the same movies, right? This movie, my number 2 is, because you mentioned Bottle Rocket, you mentioned Owen Wilson. This is a film co-written by Owen Wilson with one of my favorite directors, Wes Anderson. Rushmore is my number 2. I absolutely love this movie. This was the movie where Wes Anderson really came into his own. He's known for those like minute details, like all these like just world building stuff that wasn't fully present in Bottle Rocket, but he does it infinitely more after Rushmore. He does Rushmore, then Royal Tenenbaums. It's really intricate detail, and it keeps on going from there. I love this movie. Bill Murray and Jason Schwartzman's chemistry in this is so good. There are certain scenes and lines, again, much like The Big Lebowski, but not to the same extent, of things I remember, like Bill Murray being on the phone, swatting a basketball like shot from a small child as he's walking through his driveway. Just is the most badass, funniest thing, and completely Bill Murray scene I've ever seen. And Jonathan Schwartzman. No, it's Jason. What the fuck? Yeah. I wrote it down wrong, asshole. Either way, it's not his last name. He's a Coppola. Fuck him anyway. So, he's so good in this movie. And one of my favorite scenes is the cameo by not Owen Wilson, but Luke Wilson, where Luke Wilson is, dating the teacher that he has a crush on, and they're all out to dinner, and he's making fun of his clothes, and he's like, "These are OR scrubs," and he goes,
"He's like,
are they?
I like your nurse's outfit. Oh, these are OR scrubs.
Yeah,
are they?
It's like one of my favorite things.
Great.
Yeah, this whole movie, it's so funny, but it is like gut-wrenching drama at times too, because we've all been like teenagers where you know, maybe have a crush on someone older, you know, maybe someone's, you know, mom or a teacher or whoever. And this one is the full on thing for the teacher. And we all like fall for someone who gets us regardless of age. And that's exactly what this movie is. And it's weird that he has all these people in his circle that are so much older than him. But it happens when like you're a smarter kid who maybe becomes an outcast at your own school that you're friends with who you're going to be friends with. And I don't know. This movie is just it's like a dark comedy, which is right in my wheelhouse. And it's super funny. And I could rewatch this movie all the time.
Yeah, I might have to go back and watch this film because I remember watching it when it first came out and I did like it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. For like you said, Anderson is hit or miss with me. Like he's that 50-50 director for me. Like I like some of his stuff, then he does too quirky of a movie. I'm like, fuck that movie. But this movie, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this. And I'll admit, an unpopular opinion for everybody, and I'm not a Bill Murray fan. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Wow.
I could take or leave.
He's pretty universal, right?
Yeah, I could take or leave Bill Murray. Like I don't hate him, but I could take or leave him. I think he's a little bit overrated. But I got to go back and watch this film now because I remember watching it. I liked it, but I haven't seen it since it came out. So
I watched it this week, and it was touch and go whether it would make my list or not. But I think I picked Out of Sight instead of Rushmore.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, listen, two great directors, can't complain.
Yeah,
I saw it once when it came out, and I liked it, but it's Anderson is not necessarily like I don't go for his stuff necessarily. Like everybody has seen Royal Tenenbaums. I've never seen that. I really enjoyed The Life Aquatic. So, but I don't always go for his stuff. But I did enjoy this one. It's definitely something I'll give a watch to.
It's the kind of thing you have to watch it and want to watch it and pay attention.
All right, so that was Andrew's number 2. So let's go to the Manster for his number 1.
Number 1. So my number 1, I don't know. It seems pretty rote. It seems like the obvious number 1. Maybe none of you guys even have it on your list. It's a little movie starring Tom Hanks, Edward Burns, Tom Sizemore, Barry Pepper, Giovanni Ribisi, Vin Diesel, Adam Goldberg, Jeremy Davies, a bunch of other people, Ted Danson. Saving Private Ryan. This is the movie I was talking about. I won't get into details, but I had a major surgery in June of that year. And this was the very first movie I saw in the theaters while I was home recovering. And holy shit, what an experience this was. The first 20 minutes of this film with the shaky cam and just the bullets whizzing and the armories and the artilleries and the mortar. It's just so intense. I can't even imagine being a veteran and watching this and just the sound of this movie, just the sound alone is intense. Obviously, it's set in 1944 in France with troops just going to extract a brother of a set of 4 brothers who 3 of them died. So that's the whole thing. And of course, the movie knows that that's kind of a flimsy premise. And it says, why are you putting everybody else in danger just to save this one guy? I think it does a pretty good job of leading you along and saying, yeah, this is our duty. This is what we got to do. I don't know, Frank Darabont, I don't know if you knew this, but Frank Darabont and Scott Frank have some uncredited rewrites in this movie.
2 great writers.
Yeah. And there's just so many scenes that are just so memorable and like just heartbreaking. And, like I said, the Omaha Beach scene, the scene with the French family and the little girl that the parents were trying to save, which was really dumb, with Vin Diesel. When Giovanni Ribisi, gets it, and Adam Goldberg.
Adam Goldberg's death scene in this movie is
so disturbing.
Disturbing scenes I've ever seen in my life, and I can't get it out of my head.
Yeah,
I'll never get it out of my head because
same here.
I have never been in combat. I'm not going to talk, to that experience, but I can tell you, I can imagine what it's like to have a man on top of you who's about to stab you to death, and the feeling of like, what are we doing? Because he's saying, you don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. Like the feeling of just trying to stop someone from doing this universally destructive thing at a time where it's going to happen and you have nothing left but your words. His death scene is fucking shaking. Shaking.
Yeah, that's the scene I remember the most is that scene right there. Especially when he's like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. It's that feeling, like you said, John, but it's the feeling like you did not come out on top of this confrontation. Like
Right.
this is going to happen to you whether you like it or not. And you're pleading for your life in this moment. And both guys probably don't want to be in that situation, but they're in that situation at that moment. That was the most gripping scene for me. And this is probably one of the best films of that year. But like you said, John, if I had to like come up with my best films of the year, this would be my number one. You know what I mean? This was a great film, and I agree with Lloyd and everything he said. The opening D-Day scene was just horrific, and it puts you in the mindset of what those guys actually went through. And I was thinking, like, there's no fucking way I'd be on those goddamn boats, like trying to get to the shore as they're getting shot before they even left the boat.
In the boat, yeah.
And you know, and people using blowtorches to fire out foxholes and all that stuff. I'm like, people do the most unhumane stuff to each other, and this movie just kind of like exemplified it in that era of which it was, presented.
Yeah, and Shane, you know as well, like that scene, the Adam Goldberg thing, also reminds me of that scene in All Quiet on the Western Front where they do have like a dance of like, we don't need to do this.
Right.
Basically, the war was practically like they don't need to.
Is that the
fight,
new one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
because I haven't seen the new one, but I remember the foxhole scene in the original in the book.
Yeah, which is intense in both versions.
Yeah.
It's incredible. The new version is excellent. Definitely worthy of being up for Best Picture like it is this year. And speaking of the Oscars, Saving Private Ryan easily should have won this year. Got completely robbed by Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah.
That was a complete Weinstein snow job. The complete politics, the backroom politics of everything.
It was the year that I stopped caring about because I couldn't take it seriously. And I've never seen Shakespeare in Love, which I guess
it's pretty good.
It's fine.
It fizzles my argument to an extent, but I couldn't believe that any movie could be story-wise or technically better than Private Ryan.
Yeah.
And I'll just jump right ahead and say it. I know we said favorites and everything. This one crosses over to me. It is my number one because it is the best movie of the year to me, but it's also my favorite. And again, if you look at my list, Half-Baked, Mask of Zorro, Blade, Armageddon, there's a lot of stupid shit in there. I get it. It's all, but this one here, it's like you're seeing the most incredible action you've ever seen. It's a lesson, right? There's a reason that this movie, when it's shown on like ABC, isn't cut because people need to see this and understand what happened back then.
It's also 3 hours long.
I mean, they don't cut any of the violence out or anything.
Yeah.
And we talk about it on the show every once in a while. I'm a notorious movie crier. 4 times at least in this movie. When he asked at the end his wife, tell him he's a good man. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Because did I earn this? Like, Tom Hanks says to him, earn this. All he's saying to him is lead a good life.
Yeah.
And you got this guy who essentially, not through any fault of his own, just wiped out a whole platoon of people. Who lives in that? Reiben, the Burns, the Edward Burns character, and Upham, and him. That's it. 3 guys out of what started as probably 8 or 9. The Giovanni Ribisi scene where he's dying kills me. There's just so much in this movie. And, it's almost a joke, but Tom Sizemore is so good in it, it makes you forget what a piece of shit that guy is in real life.
Between that and Heat, he was on the end of the 90s is great for him.
Super tear. So that's my number one. Shane,
not to mention Tom Hanks. I mean, that guy can do fucking anything. He was perfect in that role.
Yeah.
And it may not be the kind of role that, you would think that Tom Hanks would excel at.
Yeah. And the only reason why he probably didn't win Best Actor that year is it's like the same BS Oscar politicky stuff where it's like, oh, well, he won multiple times. We can't give it to him again. It's like, that's garbage. Right. The same way, like he Cast Away 2 years later, like he absolutely should. It's all dumb. We overthink these things, and for how much I like and I watch the Oscars every year, like when we do these top 5 lists, oftentimes I go back and very rarely do like the Oscars speak for my lists. Like there's usually some other kind of like rewatchability and these other things that go up. Not this year. I didn't have any really like kind of Oscar-y films on my top 5, though I do like Private Ryan and others, of course, that were involved.
This is going to be the shortest synopsis for my number one film of all time because Andrew took all the air out of my balloon, but I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did, and that is Rounders. I
Wow.
I absolutely love this film. I'm a huge Edward Norton fan, and the chemistry between him and Matt Damon, John Turturro's character in this movie, the John Malkovich, like Andrew, like hit all of what I was gonna say, so I'm not gonna like just echo that, but like it was I love it's so rewatchable, and it put poker back on the map for a while. Like ESPN was replaying poker tournaments for like the next 5 years. Yeah. So it's a great film. Like Edward Norton was so good in this film. And like you said, John, like pay that man his money. Like I love that line.
Pay that man his money.
When he finds out the Oreo trick. Like I just absolutely love this film. Well written, well acted, great film. That's my number one film of 1998 is Rounders.
Well, I'm going to search this one out then.
Yeah. Shane, do you have a favorite scene? Because every time I think about this movie, the one that comes up every time is when they get caught out in that. It was like a cop game. Oh, God. And everybody gets their ass kicked. Yeah.
When they find out Worm is cheating, he's cutting the cards. And like, that is the best, most tense scene in the entire movie.
I mean, I love the ending, but.
Yeah, the ending is one of the best when he finds out the Oreo thing. But it's when Worm is cheating on the cops and they both get their ass whooped.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So in 98, at like 22, 23 years old, the Edward Norton movie that I was watching a lot of that year was American History X.
Yeah.
And that couldn't make my list for kind of almost like, I loved it when I was younger. I haven't seen it. I own it. I haven't seen it in years because I've talked about this on the show in the past too, is my sensibilities as I get older. It's harder to watch stuff that's just so mean. And that movie is just, it's about Nazism. It's about American Nazism. And it's a really good movie, but it's just something I haven't seen in a long time. The performances are great. But yeah, so I got to check Rounders out again myself because I watched American History X a lot. I was like obsessed with that movie for a while because that's the movie that put Edward Norton on the map for me. That's like a year before Fight Club, which is kind of what really, I know Primal Fear, but Fight Club is what kind of really
launched them.
So American History X was so intense that I was really into that film. All right. So those are all really good. Let's go through each one of ours backwards one more time. Manster, your 5 through 1 real quick.
I'm going to give you a couple runners up. Rushmore.
You piece of shit.
Rushmore, Blade, Big Lebowski, and Dark City.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay. I'm going to go from 5 to number 1. The number 5 was There's Something About Mary. 4, Out of Sight. 3, The Truman Show. 2, A Simple Plan. And number 1, Saving Private Ryan.
All right, Shane, you're 5 to 1.
All right, you call me a piece of shit too, but you guys all covered my runner-ups. But I'll mention one is Enemy of the State, directed by Tony Scott, was on my list but did not make my list. But
Pac-Man.
Yes, 5 was Something About Mary. 4, The Faculty. 3, Clay Pigeons. 2, The Big Lebowski, and 1, Rounders.
All right, well, I'm a piece of shit too because here's one of my runners up. I'll just give you one. We talked about her a few minutes ago. Smoking Hot Famke Jensen. Treat Williams back at it again. Oh, wow. It's Deep Rising.
Deep Rising. Absolutely goddamn ridiculous underwater monster cruise ship movie, but it's funny. It does the goods for that type of movie. I enjoy that one a lot. Number 5, Half Baked. Number 4, The Mask of Zorro. Number 3, Blade. Number 2, Armageddon. And number 1, Saving Private Ryan. Andrew Morgan, what do you got?
I will be the asshole too, I guess, if we're all chiming in. I just want to say, like, my deep list just shows how much of a dirtbag I was when I was 16 years old.
I'm just a teenage dirtbag.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, we mentioned a lot of the movies between like stuff that was on your guys' list and stuff I chimed in, like Pleasantville and other stuff like that. But there are movies that I have in the dirtbag section of Your Friends and Neighbors, Happiness, Buffalo 66, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and Permanent Midnight is like the top 5 of all timer dirtbag stuff, and they all happened in 1998. So I wanted to shout those out. But other than that, I had a lot of the same ones you guys had. I'm surprised nobody said Halloween H2O.
I did have that on my list, but didn't crack my top 5.
Yeah, that's a fun one, but it wouldn't make my favorites.
Same. My top 5 was number 5, Wedding Singer, number 4, Basketball, number 3, Rounders, number 2, Rushmore, and number 1, Big Lebowski.
All right, so that is our top 5 favorite films of 1998. Let's dig into the Pint Insider. Those are the folks that go to the Patreon/the Pint, pay $2.50 a month and get all kinds of extra goodies, and they get to shape the content of the show as well. I asked them, so I got a few answers here. Let's go through them. Laura Hyland, our good friend, the redheaded stranger, Laura.
Redheaded.
She gave us several. Fallen. Denzel Washington, Fallen. Waking Ned Devine. I've heard of it. Never seen it before.
Good movie.
Yeah.
A Simple Plan. I think, I could be totally wrong. It's been so long. I think Laura was on our Simple Plan episode. And The Waterboy, because Laura Hyland, she likes herself some Bobby Boucher.
High quality H2O.
High quality H2O. Our buddy Chris Ramirez, he went the opposite. He's going to be pissed with all this Deep Impact talk because he went with Deep Impact. So unless he's talking about his favorite porn from that year, I don't know. Very, very possibly. Mike Wallace from the Multiverse of Badness podcast. Great podcast. Very comic book centric. Dirty Work, and it's not even close. He must have a taste for the Saigon horrors. Mike Simonetta, our good buddy, Officer Mike. Lasting overall film impact, Saving Private Ryan. But his other 4, A Simple Plan, Mike definitely was on that episode. I remember that. Six String Samurai, The Vinegar Syndrome 4K remaster is stunning. Your Friends and Neighbors, and Gods and Monsters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie, too.
Yeah.
And Stu from SWO Productions, our good buddy Stu, The Truman Show, or yet again, Bobby, did you just make a joke? The Waterboy. Sal from Robert Barron's Inc. And he provides our opening theme song. Dude, Big Lebowski, man.
Dude, of course.
Yeah.
They got the shirts.
And finally, Joe Doherty, Professor Joe. Out of Sight is my favorite. It just edges out Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, he's got 2, just like me. All right.
That's right. All right. So before we ask these two guys here to talk about their show for a few minutes, every episode of the Pint, a pop culture podcast, is a co-production between The Pint, aka Lloyd and myself, and our Pint Insiders. Those are the folks I told you about a minute ago that go and put their $2.50 out a month and get all kinds of cool stuff. We've been talking about them on every episode, giving a little shout out. We gave a shout out in one of the last episodes to the 3rd member of Recent Activity, Chris Frodell. And tonight I'm going to just give a shout out to our good buddy, Bob Howard. Beautiful Bob Howard.
We
love
you,
Bob. He's a big horror fan. We met him through Larry at the Connecticut Cult Classic shows. Podcasting is a fun hobby for me, but sometimes you have like these weird moments, and Bob recognized me from my voice, which it just kind of blew my mind. It was very odd. It was very odd. He said, he said something to me. I said, yeah, I'm John from the Pint. He goes, I know, I listen to your show. And then he goes, and that's Lloyd, right? And I went, this is weird. But
I have to say, I didn't tell you this, but when we were at Cult Classic last weekend, I was facing the front of the auditorium, and Eric came up behind me and said, hey, how you doing? I'm like, hey, like he recognized me from behind, and he's never seen me before, and I wasn't talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it's the Pint, man. It's
Amazing.
magical. It's magical.
Shout out to Eric. Thanks, Eric.
He was just wearing a shirt that said "I'm Lloyd from the Pint," and
I was wearing a Vans shirt. That's all.
No, he was actually he was actually shirtless, and it was his tattoo that says "I'm Lloyd."
Yeah. There it is.
With a picture of his face on the back.
Yeah, he's like Steve-O of podcasting.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew and Shane, why don't you tell us all about Recent Activity? You guys are coming up on a year or just past a year at this point?
Almost a year, a couple months from a year.
Yeah, we started in May of last year, that first week, and dropped 3 all at the same time. So that's why maybe you're thinking we've been around since way before, because we just dropped like 5 episodes in like a week and a half.
Yeah, there was a bunch right there at the beginning, I remember.
Yeah. But no, it's going strong. We're doing, as we mentioned before, Cocaine Bear this upcoming week. So Shane will be really happy. Regardless, my favorite thing too, and this might tickle you guys because you talk about candy all the time. There was a guy online that posted a picture of he brought to the movie like a little container of gummy bears with confection sugar on them, like as they were cocaine bears. And I was like, this is the greatest thing. This is what I miss about movies and going to the movies and doing all that stuff, the fun stuff that we could do as a group. But yeah, no. Shane, myself, Chris, doing a great job covering, as we say, everything, everywhere, every movie, every show, all at once. I know. I'm the one who does the intro every week, and I still goofed it.
Yeah,
That's fine.
you fumbled that. You fumbled
Yeah, I
it.
know.
What the hell's wrong with you?
I'm on 2 different kinds of antibiotics. I'm allowed. But no, it's going great. We'll do everything. It's like highbrow. It's like Oscar-y stuff, but we'll go as, Shane.
Low as I'll go. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A whole episode dedicated to Plane should tell you everything. Yeah. So Shane and I saw that one.
I swim in the gutter of movies, and I'm fine with that. That's my place. I saw Cocaine Bear this afternoon, and it did not disappoint. It did not.
I may go see it tomorrow on my day off.
It was fun.
So it's every week, comes out usually Tuesday night for your listening pleasure on a Wednesday morning or what have you. And yeah, we'll cover everything from, we do like a TV heavy thing. We just did one the other day where we're covering The Last of Us and Shrinking and Poker Face, some of our favorite shows on TV right now, on top of, whatever the big movie is of any genre, whatever is our favorite thing. And then a lot of like preview episodes of like what we're into for the rest of the year, what you could probably see coming up. So yeah, we really run the gamut. It's an awesome trio that we have with like me. It's like a, obnoxiously film critic-y and whatever else. Shane, who, still has a raging heart on from Plane or, all these, little like, those type of action movies and everything else. And then Chris, who's kind of like somewhere in between.
Yeah, he's in between.
Yeah. So Chris will go to a film festival with me, but then also, sidle up with Shane and, go on those adventures too. So it's a fun time. We have a good time, and yeah, it's every week. Go subscribe. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Recent Act Pod. So yeah, like, subscribe, do the whole thing. Check us out. John was on for our we do movie drafts, and we did the movie draft of 1997, right?
Yeah.
When last year it was the 25th year of that one. So a lot of good stuff, a lot of remembering Boogie Nights and Big Wangs and stuff. It's a good time.
Yep, it's a great show. It was great fun to be on, and everybody out there should check it out. This is the last week of Forgotten February this year, so we wanted to end it off with a bang. Thank you to everybody that's come on, the guys from Forgotten Cinema, the guys from Yet Another DC Animated Podcast, Anders from Yet Another Star Wars Podcast, and of course you guys. And of course you guys will come back through the course of the year. But I will tell you this, if you plan out podcasts, don't plan out 2 theme months in a row, because it really fucks you with like we did Van Damme, so we had to get 4 Van Damme films out there. Right. And then Forgotten February, I had to have guests from the Forgotten Entertainment family on and try to figure out when to get them on and when to record and when to edit. So from here on out until September, which we're not going to tell you about yet. We're just freeballing it. So we're going back to regular Pint rules where you might have a horror episode, countdown episode, just a regular movie episode. Lloyd, tell them all about us and then tell them to see ya.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you could, every once in a while, we say, please give us a review. That'd be nice. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, Facebook and YouTube. It's The Pint, a pop culture podcast. And on Instagram and Twitter, it's at The Pint Podcast. And as John said, you can be a Patreon insider at patreon.com/The Pint. And that's it. See ya.
See ya.
Woo.
It's over, Johnny. It's over. Nothing is over. Nothing. You just don't turn it off.